The raised voice, the tension in the air. The waiting for something to happen. That becomes what your body calls normal. You learn to measure peace in minutes, not hours. You listen for footsteps, for changes in tone, for the silence that comes before the storm. When you grow up in chaos, calm feels unfamiliar. Calm feels suspicious. It feels like the moment right before something breaks. You stay alert, you stay ready. And one day, you realize you haven't taken a full breath in years. That's what survival does. It convinces you that tension is safety. For a long time, I thought that was just how life worked. Always scanning, fixing, anticipating. It took decades to realize I wasn't living. I was surviving on autopilot. And the hardest part wasn't escaping the chaos. It was learning that I didn't have to recreate it to feel safe. Because survival lingers. It becomes the background noise of your life. Something you don't question because it's all you've ever known. When your nervous system spends years in survival mode, your body forgets what safety feels like. Not because you're broken, but because your body did what it had to do to keep you here. That's how you made it through. In this episode, I want to talk about what that really looked like for me. How growing up in survival shaped the way I moved through the world. How it shaped the way I loved. And what it felt like to finally learn I didn't have to live that way anymore. Because survival is clever. It convinces you that being on edge means being safe. It convinces you that peace means something's about to go wrong. And sometimes the hardest part of healing is learning to trust the quiet again. Learning to believe that calm isn't a trap. It's home. This is Born Tired, where survival meets healing. A podcast for those of us who grew up in survival mode but are ready to heal and speak our truth. I'm Irene, a cycle breaker who is learning what peace feels like after years of survival. Every episode is an invitation to rest inside your truth, to feel seen, and remember you were never alone. This is what it sounds like when silence finally breaks. Before we begin, I want to share a gentle reminder. This episode includes stories and reflections about domestic violence, childhood trauma, and abuse. Please listen in a way that feels safe for you. If at any point you need to pause or step away, honor that. Your well-being matters more than finishing the episode. If you or someone you know is in danger or needs support, you can reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Or visit thehotline.org for free. Confidential help is available 24 hours a day. And if you're listening from outside the U.S., you can find international hotlines and local resources at findahelpline.com. You are not alone. Take care of yourself while you listen. My parents paid for me to go to Catholic preschool. It's something that my father never let me forget. Anytime he wanted to remind me he was a good dad, he'd say, "I paid $50 a week for your preschool." That line became proof in his mind that all the hurt that followed somehow balanced out. I remember right before going no contact with him, I had told him, I'm like, tell me how much it was. How many weeks was it? I'll pay you back, because literally it's like the only thing that you have as proof that you were a good dad to me. And honestly, I was so tired of him throwing it in my face. I'm like, in my 40s, what are we talking about here? I do have one good memory from that time. One morning when he dropped me off, I was hanging my backpack in my cubby, and he slipped a blow pop inside, and blow pops were my favorite. He then put his finger over his lips and whispered, "Save it for later," in Spanish. It was small and sweet, and because moments like that were rare, my memory still protects it. But that's how trauma bonds are formed, in the confusion between comfort and fear. You learn that love can be gentle one moment and cruel the next. The same hands that give can also take away. When I was little, his anger came without warning. One night, I stepped out of the bathroom after my shower, and he was waiting in the hallway, drunk and already furious. He ripped the towel off of me and shoved me toward the bedroom. Then came the belt, the yelling, the rage that had nothing to do with what I'd done and everything to do with his need for control. I screamed for my mother, but instead of stepping in, she turned off the light. That moment branded something into me. Not just the pain, but the silence. The realization that I could be hurt right in front of her and she would look away. That silence taught me what love looked like in our home. One person destroying, the other person disappearing. And yet, I still wanted their approval. That's the cruel trick of trauma. It ties you to the very people who make you feel unsafe. Because even pain feels better than being invisible. I was always the one who needed to be taught a lesson. My father said I was born defiant. My mother said I was difficult. It never occurred to them that I was scared. The constant contrast, affection one day, violence the next. It trained me to chase softness from the same hands that hurt me. That's how the bond deepened. Every kind gesture felt like redemption. Every calm night felt like proof he wasn't all bad. It's the kind of confusion that keeps children loyal to their abusers, hoping love will someday outweigh the harm. I grew up in a home where the air changed before anything happened. Before the yelling started, before the crash of a plate, my body already knew. It could feel it in the quiet, that heavy kind of silence that feels like something's coming. My father's drinking made our home unpredictable. It was like living inside a storm that looked calm from the outside. Every night, I learned to scan faces, tones, movements, trying to read the weather of the room. Hypervigilance became my first language. If his footsteps sounded too heavy, my stomach would tighten. If my mother's voice changed, I knew we were going to enter survival mode again. I didn't have a name for it back then, but what I was really doing was regulating everyone else's emotions to keep myself safe. That's what survival teaches you. Control what you can so you don't fall apart. Keep the peace, keep everyone calm, keep yourself small. Survival turns children into peacekeepers long before they understand what peace even means. It took a long time to unlearn that. I learned early on that love could hurt and still keep you coming back. That's what trauma bonds do. They confuse attachment with safety. I stopped waiting to be protected and started preparing for disappointment. It's wild how early you learn to manage pain when love and fear live in the same house. One minute, you're somebody's little girl, and the next, you're their scapegoat, their emotional punching bag, their mirror for everything they don't want to face. That's what trauma does. It teaches you to see danger even in love, to brace for impact even when nothing's coming, to apologize for existing before anyone asks you to. When you grow up like that, survival becomes instinct. You start predicting moods before they change, shrinking before anyone tells you to, apologizing for things you didn't do just to make the room feel safe again. And for a while, it works. You get through another night, another outburst, another silence. But each time, something inside you gets quieter. That's the cost of surviving. You start to disappear a little at a time. The body remembers what the mind tries to rationalize. Mine learned to read danger as love and silence as safety. My shoulders stayed tight, my breath never felt full. My stomach nodded for no reason. Even after the yelling stopped, I couldn't relax, because survival doesn't end when the danger does, it echoes. The body keeps a calendar of everything the mind tries to forget. For years, I didn't understand why peace made me so anxious, why stillness made my chest tighten instead of soften, why I'd sabotage quiet moments without realizing it, pick a fight, overthink, fill the silence. I didn't know that my body was still trying to stay safe in a world that no longer required it. As an adult, I carried that child everywhere. She sat in meetings with me, walked into friendships with her guard up, flinched at kindness because she learned it often came with a cost. I used to call it intuition, but really, it was hypervigilance wearing a halo. When you grow up in survival, you don't just adapt to danger. You adapt to the anticipation of it. Even when nothing bad is happening, your body stays alert, like it's waiting for an old story to repeat itself. That's one of the hardest parts of healing from chaos. Learning that calm isn't a setup. It's not the moment before things fall apart. It's a space where your body finally gets to rest. And sometimes rest feels terrifying because it asks you to trust what you can't control. Healing isn't about fixing yourself. It's about teaching your body the war is over. For me, that meant noticing how often I held my breath, how I mistook busyness for peace, how even joy felt suspicious. I had to teach my body to believe me when I said, "You're safe now." And I'll be honest, sometimes I still forget. Because healing doesn't erase the reflexes. It gives you the tools to meet them differently. You can't rush a nervous system that spent years protecting you. You meet it where it learned to hide. In the clenched jaw, the shallow breath, the quiet apology that slips out of nowhere. That's where the healing begins, in awareness. When survival becomes home, healing can feel like an exile. Like leaving behind everything that once kept you alive. But leaving doesn't mean rejection. It means you're ready to live differently. You're not abandoning the version of you who survived. You're inviting her to finally rest. Sometimes I wonder how many versions of me were born in that house. The quiet one, the watchful one, the one who memorized everyone's mood like scripture. And later, the one who started to unlearn. Healing is remembering you existed before the pain had a name. It's letting softness return to the places that once only knew tension. It's rediscovering what it feels like to laugh without checking the room first. There's grief in that too, because once you start healing, you see how much you lost just trying to survive. You notice all the birthdays that didn't feel safe, the laughter that carried an edge of fear, the moments you couldn't fully inhabit. But there's gratitude too, for the pieces of you that refused to disappear, for the small joys that kept showing up anyway. Like the sunlight that slipped through the blinds, even on the mornings I didn't want to get up. Like the way my mind created worlds to escape into when the real one felt too loud. Those moments were small, but they kept me alive. They reminded me that even in the darkest room, something inside me still believed in light. When I think back on the girl I was, I can still feel how much she carried, the constant scanning, the forced smiles, the hope that if she just kept everything under control, maybe things would finally stay calm. If I could talk to her now, I'd tell her this. It was never your job to hold the world together. You deserve to rest. You deserve safety without having to earn it. And so do you. Safety isn't something we have to earn. It's something we learn. And some of us had to learn it for the first time as adults. If you grew up in survival mode, you're not broken for struggling to relax. You're not weak for feeling anxious when things are quiet. That's your body trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. For years, I confused peace with danger. It took me a long time to understand that peace can feel uncomfortable when all you've ever known is chaos. But that discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're healing. Sometimes healing feels strange because it's the first time your body is embracing for impact. If your shoulders tense when someone raises their voice, if you still overthink every reaction, if you feel like you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, please know there's nothing wrong with you. You learned those things to survive, and they worked. They kept you here. But now, it's okay to start teaching your body a new story. Healing doesn't mean you never get triggered again. It means you learn how to come back to yourself when you do. That's the part people don't talk about. How healing is really remembering what peace feels like in your own body. It's slow, it's tender, it's choosing gentleness in places that once demanded armor. When I talk to the younger version of me, I don't tell her to be strong anymore. She's already been strong enough. I tell her she can rest, that I've got her. That the life we have now is the one she used to dream about when she traced the sink in the dark bathroom, counting the chips of the enamel like stars. Healing is when you become the safe place your younger self needed. If this episode finds you somewhere in survival, the sleepless nights, the overthinking, the constant alertness, just take one deep breath with me. That breath is proof you're already doing something differently. You're noticing, and that's where healing begins. Awareness is the first exhale after a lifetime of holding your breath. It's a sacred homecoming to yourself. It's not glamorous. It's not something anyone can measure for you. It's quiet work. The kind that happens in the in-between moments, when you stop performing and finally just breathe. Some days you'll feel proud. Other days it'll feel like you're back at the start. That's okay. Healing has a rhythm, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and a deep breath in between. Progress isn't the absence of pain. It's the return of compassion. So if you ever catch yourself wishing you were further along, remind yourself, there's no finish line. You're not late to your own healing. You're right on time for the version of you that's ready now. When I look at the woman I've become, I can still see every version of me that made her. The watcher, the dreamer, the protector, the girl with the toy phone. All of them finally learning how to exhale together. That's what freedom sounds like, a full breath. Before we close, I want to leave you with this. Healing doesn't erase the past. It changes the way you carry it. For a long time, I thought healing meant forgetting. Forgiving so fast it hurt. Pretending I wasn't still angry or sad. But pretending isn't peace. It's just another kind of silence. Real peace came when I stopped trying to rush my feelings and let every emotion have a seat at the table. The grief, the anger, the tenderness, the hope. You can hold sorrow and peace in the same breath. That's what wholeness really is. If you're somewhere between survival and healing, be patient with that in-between. That's where integration happens, where the past starts to loosen its grip and the future begins to unfold differently. It's okay if peace feels strange at first. It's okay if calm feels unfamiliar. That's what happens when your bodies live too long in protection mode. Peace can feel foreign when you've only known vigilance. The goal isn't to force calm, it's to trust it. Gently, 1 breath at a time. Calm isn't something you perform. It's something your body learns to believe in again. And that belief takes practice. Maybe that looks like unclenching your jaw when you catch yourself bracing. Maybe it's taking a full breath instead of a half one. Maybe it's saying no without guilt. Or finally allowing yourself to cry after years of holding it in. All of that counts. Every small act of softness is part of the healing. The work isn't to become unbreakable. It's to remember you are never broken. Healing will ask you to release the roles that once kept you safe. The fixer, the peacekeeper, the invisible one. It'll ask you to trust stillness. To trust that you can exist without earning your place. That you can rest without something going wrong. Some days that will feel like progress. Other days it'll feel like loss. But even when it's messy, it's movement. And movement means you're still becoming. Every quiet moment you allow yourself is proof that survival isn't the only way to live. You deserve to know peace in your body. You deserve to feel safe in your own story. And even if it takes time, you're already on your way there. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need it. And take a moment to leave a review wherever you listen. Your review helps more people find the podcast and reminds others that they're not alone. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to connect beyond the podcast, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Born Tired Podcast. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. And if you'd like to support the podcast, there's a link there to buy me a coffee. Thank you for being here, for listening with an open heart. Most of all, remember this. Your story matters, your voice matters, and you are not alone.